Welcome to Vegas Circle with Paki and Chris, and today joining the circle we've got Shane Jasmine Young from Young Law Group. Shane is actually a mother of 5,
Yes.
which is unbelievably powerful. We'll get into that today. She went to Green Valley High School. She attended UNLV's Boyd School of Law. Your husband Charles talked you into starting your own firm,
Yes.
Young Law Group, about 2 years ago now, right?
We're actually celebrating. We just are celebrating our 2-year anniversary.
Awesome.
So very excited, but it did take me a while to get to that point.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
Especially because you were private practice prior, or?
Yeah, so I went to law school here and I graduated in 2004, took the bar in 2005 and went into private practice with one of the big firms here, Snell and Wilmer. And I lateraled over as a third-year attorney to another big firm, Ballard Spahr, and I stayed in private practice for about 10 years. But even when I was in law school, my husband Charles had said, like, yeah, you know, you're going to open your own firm, we're going to have our own business. And but at that point I was like, no, you know, I want to go and, you know, have a good, stable profession, you know, paycheck and all of that. And I did stay, like I said, I stayed in private practice for about 10 years, and then I got the opportunity to go in-house as a general counsel for a financial services company here in Las Vegas, Provident Trust Group. So I went there, I was there for 2.5 years, and then in July of 2017 is when we opened the firm.
That's powerful. Yeah, that's good. It's good to have that support system too.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So where are you actually from? You're not originally from Las Vegas.
No, I grew up here, but I was born in New York.
Okay.
So my family actually immigrated, both sides. My mom's family and my dad's family immigrated from South America, Guyana.
Oh, okay, from South. Okay.
Yes. So they moved to New York when they were teenagers. They met and got married, and my dad went to NYU. And when he was graduating, he said, you know, he asked my mom, where do you want to do? What do you want to do? Where do you want to live? And she said, not here.
Not New York. Yes.
Yeah, she didn't want to raise a
she
family.
She would do the cold, or
no, she did not like the cold. She didn't like the city. So we actually moved to Dallas, Texas, Carrollton, Texas, actually, where we had some family. My dad got a job there. He was in the airline business. So we were there for a few years, and then we came to Las Vegas when I was 9.
A few different places then before you deciding on Las Vegas. What was it like growing up here for you?
You know, at first when we moved here, I didn't like it because we had no other family here. It was just my immediate family, and I was so used to being surrounded by other cousins, aunts, uncles, and things like that. So, and we moved, of course, like in the middle of the summer, so it was scorching hot.
Yeah, like it is today.
Yes,
degrees,
that oven heat, you know. So I didn't like it at first, but you know, once I started school and I made friends, and I met my husband in high school. So
yeah, I saw you, your high school sweetheart.
Yeah,
so that's powerful.
95.
That's awesome. How are you guys able to build this empire and 5 kids? And
you know, it's funny because I think back to when we started dating as teenagers, and I just never imagined what it could be. And fortunately, we've been able to grow together. We've grown up together. We've struggled together. We've sacrificed together. We've had our good times. We've had our bad times. We've learned, you know, along our journey. And I think that one of the things that we've learned is so important as far as our relationship with each other and with everyone else in our lives really is communication. Before 2017, we had never actually worked it together. So now with having the law firm where we actually are partners in that, in addition to being partners in life, but partners in business, it's definitely added a new level of complication,
of course,
to how we are learning how to work together now. So I think that we've done a really good job so far.
Well, you guys definitely must have done something right if you're building 5 kids, and you said your twins are just graduated high school, so you guys have done something right for sure. So definitely being able to work together that way.
Yeah, they just graduated, Kyra and Shira, they just graduated from Gorman High School this year, 2019.
Was that always kind of the plan, was to go into law school? What made you motivated to go into that field and kind of pursue that?
Yeah, so my dad, when he was working, he was in the airline business, and that's what brought us out to Las Vegas. He got a job as a CFO, as a CFO with a Grand Canyon tour company.
Oh yeah, Grand Canyon.
So the airline that he worked for, he worked there maybe, I don't know, a few years, and then he decided that he was going to open his own airline. And so he left. He was the breadwinner for our family, and he left his job. He started his own airline. He got financing purchased airplanes, hired an attorney.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so hired an attorney to make sure he was doing everything correctly, and the attorney, with the help of some other third parties, actually took advantage of him, took control of the company away, so completely pushed my dad out. And I was young when this happened, so he ended up filing a malpractice lawsuit against this attorney and the firm. And that started when I was in middle school, and we didn't get a final decision on that lawsuit, on that case, until I was a sophomore in college.
Oh, so you just dragged it out.
It dragged out. It went all the way up to the Nevada Supreme Court, and ultimately we lost the case on a technicality. It was a statute of limitations issue.
Oh, wow.
So, growing up in that type of environment where I was seeing my dad, the struggle that he had as an entrepreneur, and then also the legal struggles that he had. Of course, he was like, "You got to go to law school so that this never happens to you."
Yeah. Fired. Yeah.
And for me, I wanted to make sure that I was able to help people. I saw what my dad went through, how devastating it was for him and for our family. I witnessed that firsthand. I experienced that loss firsthand. So I wanted to make sure that would never happen to me or anyone that I loved. And so I was the first one in my family to go to law school, to graduate and become a lawyer. And so that was very, made my family very proud.
Sure, yeah.
And originally, how we were talking about what made you decide to go off and start your own firm, that really wasn't what I wanted to do going into law school. I wanted to go be an attorney so that I could get a good job, a stable income, be able to represent clients, and be a lawyer that way, and work my way up in the law firm setting. Once I had gotten the opportunity, I got in with the big firms, which is it's difficult to do. So that going off on my own really wasn't part of my initial plan. Part of the reason why was because I had so much financial instability with my dad's business and everything that happened, that I never wanted my kids to go through that. So
just dragged through all the legal.
Right. So I wanted us to have that financial security, and like many of us, like that paycheck, that regular paycheck was what kept me going. And ultimately, though, I realized after being with the big firms and seeing how the traditional law firm is set up, even though they were great firms, I worked with awesome attorneys. They were super, super smart, great mentors. I just saw the limitations.
There you go. Yeah.
And
I wanted you could change up the whole game. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I wanted to be able to, do things differently, help people in the way that I wanted to be. I wanted to be helpful to them, be of service, and set things up the way that I felt I was really using my law degree to its best use.
So what kind of law is it that you specifically practice?
Our main practice area is estate planning.
Okay.
So, a lot of times people hear estate planning and they may have a conception of what that is. So you may think of like a will or trust.
Yeah.
And that can be part of estate planning, right? But it's really much more comprehensive than that. So estate planning is really a comprehensive plan that addresses all types of contingencies, from your disability to your incapacity to your death, and what happens to your kids. If you have minor children, we were talking earlier, and you have two young sons. And so like if something happened to you and your wife, like who would step in and raise them? Or even in the short term, who would care for them, in that interim period of trying to figure things out? And one of the things that I realized years ago when my kids were much younger was, even though I'm an attorney and I had planning in place, my planning was flawed. It was incomplete because of how traditionally estate planning is done, where these holes are often left open and you don't realize it because you just don't know any better. But I'll just give you an example. So with the kids protection planning that we do, the reason why I do it is because many times in estate planning, even if you have named a legal guardian for your children,
which a lot of people do,
right?
Sure,
it doesn't go into effect unless you're dead. Right? So what if you're just in an accident, but you can't care for them? You're in a coma, you're incapacitated or something like that, and your kids are home with a family member or a babysitter or something like that. The cops would show up to the house and they would see that your kids were there with someone who is an actual legal guardian, and they would be taken out of the home into Child Protective Services.
Even with having Oh, because you have to have the paperwork.
You have to have the paperwork, okay. And it has to be comprehensive. So even with
that's scary, man.
Right.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why it's really important.
I didn't even know that. You just said it.
Right. Most people don't.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Most people don't, because we take a lot of that for granted. Like, okay, well, I've got a will, and it says that if something happens to me, my sister and her husband will step in as the legal guardians, and that's fine. That can work potentially, but what about the short term? What about those immediate minutes and hours, or maybe even days until your legal guardian can,
That's why I'm happy we're having you on this show.
Right?
Yeah, this just messed me. Yeah,
now you're like, I need to do my planning.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, I literally did. It scared me for a second.
Yeah. So just going back to your original question, Chris, is I do focus on estate planning, but we do comprehensive planning. So it's kids protection planning. Also for people that may not have kids, but you've got pets, right?
Sure.
And if your pets are your world, if they're your babies, and you want to make sure that they're taken care of in the event of something happening to you, we have planning for that. We do planning for families that have children with special needs. That's another major area that is often where kids are often left at risk. And you, in that type of situation, you don't want children with special needs to be inheriting assets without proper planning.
The mindset stuff too, yeah.
Well, and because also if they receive assets, it can actually disqualify them from receiving governmental and other benefits.
Oh, that's a good point.
So we need to make sure that planning is in place to address that and make sure that they stay eligible. So estate planning.
That's a huge industry here, what you're breaking down. So a lot of people definitely don't have that education at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's impressive. Yeah.
And how would you describe your typical client? Because it seems like you mentioned with estate planning, there's a certain person who's going to look for those services. It might be financially stable people or somebody who's a little bit older in age.
Right.
Like how do you appeal to like a Paki or a younger demographic to get into that?
So you guys are actually the main core of my client base.
Oh, wow.
Where, our age group, we're in our years of wealth accumulation. We may not have a ton of wealth yet, but we're growing our businesses. We're having our families, our young children. So that really, you guys really are the people that I try to reach, because we are the group that usually thinks that we have time. I don't need to do estate planning. That's for people that have a ton of money, or I'm not old enough, or there's always.
You just shared just that little glimpse of an example that tells you right there we don't have time.
Right.
Right.
And we get caught up. We get caught up in our day-to-day lives of running our businesses, going to work, taking care of our kids. And it's really, really important to take the time out to really plan and be intentional, so that if anything were to happen, that everything's taken care of. So families with minor children, that's one of our, those are really our best clients. Also, people with small businesses, so business owners, because I do have the business background. Many estate planning lawyers that prepare planning may not have that background, and so they don't necessarily account properly for your business and making sure that it's part of your plan, so that if something happens to you, that your business is taken care of and those assets and your business interests get transferred appropriately. So that's another area that we focus on. But really anyone between the ages of 18 and up. We have clients that are all over the spectrum. So we've got young clients, including, my daughters who have their planning in place.
There you go. Okay. That's excellent.
They have their estate plans because, they're going off to college. And if anything were to happen to them, just because I'm their mother doesn't mean that I automatically can step in and make medical decisions for them or talk to their doctors.
You gotta have that.
We have to have the legal planning in place. So anyone over 18, you may not have assets, but being able to appoint agents, healthcare agents, financial agents. What happens to your assets that you do have, like your social media? That's important for young people. Who would take.
It's like they're praying. I mean, they're now it's a big brand for them, for themselves, is all the social media and everything.
Your digital assets.
Yes, digital assets. Yeah.
Your emails, all of those things are still considered assets, even though there may not be a monetary value placed on them. So, really starting from anyone who is 18, needing some foundational planning, all the way up, to your senior years. We represent clients all over the place.
What would you tell somebody who wanted to start a business in Las Vegas? Because it's such a heavy pro, business state.
Right, and I do have a lot. I do have a lot of clients that are not necessarily based out of Las Vegas, but they want to take advantage of our business, our favorable business laws here, and they just like Delaware. Used to be the big state, but now Nevada is the number one. So I would say for those that are looking to start their own business, really think about what it is that you want, first of all. Like, what is it that you want as far as your end game? What's the goal that you have for the business? Where do you see yourself in 5 years, in 10 years? What are the services or products that you're going to be offering? How can you differentiate what you're offering from those that are already in the market? Look at your competitors, see what they're doing, and being able to compare and really set yourself up for success. So really thinking about that, coming up with a plan, and putting pen to paper. Sometimes people have these great ideas and they just are never manifested.
Sure, yeah.
So just, making sure that you start taking action, even if it's just, journaling and outlining, because that's how you're able to actually come up with a strategy, right, for starting. And of course, when you are ready to start a business, it's really best to start with getting the legal foundation set up. So meeting with an attorney that can guide you through that process, making sure that you're choosing the right legal entity. I see a lot of business owners thinking that they can take shortcuts and they can do things themselves, and they want to save money. They might have budgetary constraints. And I get it. I'm a business owner myself, so I know how it is, starting out.
You want to try to keep the overhead as low as possible.
Right. But it really is important to make certain investments so that you're getting things set up from a foundational level, at the beginning.
Do you do recommendations like structuring a business? Whether do you give them like the recommendation of LLCs and S corporations and things along that line?
I do. Yeah. So that's another practice area that we have. Sorry, Chris, we kind of keep going back and forth with your original question.
Sorry, I get a rabbit hole.
But so in addition to estate planning, we do business and business planning for clients, and we also do have a personal injury division. So car accidents, slip and falls, that sort of thing. On the business side, similar to how we do things on the estate planning side, we do a planning session where clients will come in and you actually do some homework ahead of time. So because I want you to think about really like, what is your vision? What are your goals? What are you looking to achieve? What's the purpose, behind all of this? And so we go over 4 main categories. We call it a LIFT session. So LIFT stands for legal, insurance, financial, and tax. So of course, I'm the one that handles all of the legal. I'm not an insurance expert, but I can take a look at what you have and be able to at least guide you and connect you with people that can really make sure that you're covered adequately, that you're not overpaying for insurance that you don't need. And many times, most people are underinsured. So just making sure that you're covering all of those bases and not leaving yourself exposed. And then on the financial and tax, I'm not a CPA, but making sure that your CPA, if you don't have one, I can connect you with one, or if you do have one, I'm able to work together with your financial advisor, CPA, to structure, because it's really important when you have a business to think of it as, you're the one that's running your business, right? You know your business inside and out, and that's really where your time is best served. When you talk about, legal, insurance, financial, and tax, you should have members on your team, other professionals. So you should have an attorney, you should have a financial advisor, you should have a CPA, you should have an insurance professional. Those people, because they're experts in their field, they're subject matter experts, they can guide you in the best way possible. So I'm happy to be that person that connects, all of those pieces for clients, and just making sure that they're protected, like you said, the entity's formation is part of that process, making sure they're choosing the right entity, that you're having the...
fits the right way,
right,
for sure. Sometimes people just don't understand it, just hearing stuff, and they don't realize it's not a good fit.
Right, and they think, okay, well, I filed my LLC with the Secretary of State, so now I'm covered, and it's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
I'm done with that.
Many people do. I have clients come in all the time, and they have a specific issue that they're looking for help with, and I'll say, okay, I can help you with that specific issue, but we really still should take a holistic view to see really like where you're set up, and I can guide you and tell you kind of where the holes are, and And then you decide how you want to proceed. If you want us to work together going forward, I'm happy to do that. If you want me to just take care of this issue, that's fine. But I do feel like I'm serving clients better by giving them all of that information so that they can make informed decisions, right? So, just going and filing an LLC like most business owners do, or many business owners do, unfortunately, does not protect you from liability if you're not meeting the other corporate formalities, by statute, and having an operating agreement and annual minutes and corporate resolutions, separate bank accounts so you're not commingling your funds. All of these things are very, very important to maintain the integrity of your legal entity so that you keep that separate.
So happy too. That's the other part.
And you never know. You just never know. So you would never want someone to be able to attack your business and come after those assets, but then also go directly to you and your personal assets, your house 100%. And your bank accounts and your retirement accounts. All of those can be at risk if you don't have things set up properly.
Is there a tip that you would share that could minimize some of the risk for some people that would want to start a business or currently have a business in place?
Sure. I would say tip number 1 is call me.
There you go. That's a good plug. That's a good sales. Sales.
Because I will. We have the ability to review that, and we can do the planning session at no cost. There's some work that you have to do, and there are a lot of options so that you can come in. You can actually get everything reviewed, ask your questions, and really find out what your best course of action is after being counseled through that. And we offer all kinds of services. So like I said, it can be the one-off type of situation, or I have clients that on a monthly basis they pay a flat fee and they get a specified scope of services. And that tends to work nicely because they like to be able to know exactly how much their legal spend is going to be per month, and then we're able to plan ahead and be proactive, be strategic.
That's good. You got a good mindset. Do you get into like prenups and how they set up their business?
I do.
Is that hard to be able to make those recommendations? Or
well, I think when you're talking about business, it's important, whether it's a spouse or just a business partner, you want to be able to outline exactly what your roles and responsibilities are, have clear expectations, because a lot of times a lot of business is done with a handshake. It's a gentleman's agreement, and then something happens down the road and people are at odds and it gets ugly. So it's much better to have those conversations up front, have everything documented the way that it should be, where it's clearly outlined, in agreements and things like that. So there's never a question as to what happens or how things are supposed to work and who's supposed to be doing what, that sort of thing. But also prenups, that's another
especially
thing.
Especially because Vegas is such a pro-business area.
It's not important.
Well, not only that, the divorce rate is just crazy here. So I know that.
And we do some family law, so divorce. It depends on the type of matter. That's definitely not the area that I like to focus my time on.
That's got to be hard. That's tough.
And a lot can be involved. So if it is contentious, I do have lots. I've got great colleagues that I work with that focus in that area. So I tell clients all the time, if you have clients or prospects or even acquaintances, if there's ever an issue that you have, reach out to me. If it's something that I can't handle, I'm going to connect you with someone that I trust, that I know will be able to take care of you and not take advantage.
We were talking offline. You guys have done an excellent job with building your brand. Do you have a team, or are you doing it yourself, or how?
I do. So I did start out doing a lot of it myself. My husband, as I mentioned, he's not an attorney. He's more of the creative one. So where I see the black and white, he sees the color. So he's the one that heads up the marketing and operations of the firm. So that's really, that's his baby. We work together on it, of course. But I've definitely learned a lot about running a business and that component of marketing, which is so important. I feel I know that a lot of attorneys and law firms don't really do marketing. It's one of the things that it kind of makes us unique, but it's critical to our community, really, because that's how I get the information out.
that's how I came across you too. And you were featured in My Vegas, also the magazine.
Top 100 lawyers.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah. That was in February this year, correct? Okay.
Yeah, so for me, it's important to be out there in the community, educating our community, because even having, the conversation that we were having with like the Kids Protection Plan, you're like, oh my gosh, I never even thought about that. Yeah. And that's why we do things, we hold events, we do events at our office, and we also do events around the city, trying to make it convenient for people to attend. We also do webinars once a month.
Oh, through your website? Okay, awesome. Okay.
So our website where we the information on our webinars is www.ylgwebinar.com.
Okay. Yeah.
And then for the other events that we host, we do like a wine tasting and a wills and trust workshop. So we call it Wine and Wills. And our next one in August is actually August 13th at 6 p.m. That one is at the Total Wine in Town Square. And then August 14th at 6 p.m. is at the Total Wine in Henderson. Okay. So we do the complimentary.
Branch out a couple different areas, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we've done other events in Centennial. So it's mainly been the Centennial, Total Wine, the Town Square, Summerlin,
we need to go
and
to the one on the 13th. Jesus, you scare me.
Yeah.
That's good.
So those are coming up, and I would love to have you. They're free events, and they're fun. I actually, when you think about estate planning, people are like, oh, that doesn't sound fun to me.
It's scary.
Right.
Bottom line, it's scary. As soon as you start doing it, I'm like, wait a minute, what did you say?
Right.
So that's it's scary.
But I do try to make it fun also, and I try to convey the information in a way that's digestible.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So I don't try to make it too complex, but give you the information so that you're aware of things, that you should be thinking about, the types of decisions that, you really should be making, and how you can protect your family, the next steps. So we do that educational piece. We do the wine tasting first. So that's usually about 30 minutes, and then we start this seminar at 6:30. And it's usually about an hour. And then I try to leave time for questions.
And stuff. Yeah, that's really good.
And then we do offer, for people that attend the seminar, we offer the opportunity to book an appointment with me.
Oh, good.
And I waive the normal fee for that. It's a 2-hour private meeting with me. We call it a family wealth planning session.
Sure.
So for those that attend a webinar or like the Wine and Wills, you can get that family wealth planning session.
Awesome.
And then we offer a discount. Also, for those people that attend in that book, we offer a discount on any planning that you do. So it's a good way to come and get information where it's not such an intimidating experience.
Sure. Especially when you go to the law office, you tend to get nervous and stuff. That's really cool. I see why you guys are successful. So
because people get to know me, they're able to be in a setting where they're comfortable.
Sure.
And then once they
wine
come in,
them too, gives them a little relaxed and stuff. That's good. What do you think is some of your biggest accomplishments that you guys have done?
Well, I really would say just growing the business, growing the firm in such a short time. I have been a lawyer since 2005, so I'm not a new attorney, but having our firm where I really started from nothing. I had 0 clients when we opened the firm 2 years ago, because I came from an in-house position, so it wasn't even like
recruit,
I had no clients, right? So that was definitely one of the scary parts.
Sure.
Going off on my own and really, like, are we going to make it? Like, am I going to fail? That was one of the things that had held me back previously, was my fear.
Yeah.
And because, I didn't want to have that same experience of like, how are we going to pay our bills, that I grew up with. So that was definitely scary, but being able to go off on my own and really use the things that I learned along the way, including, when I was at the big firm, and then when I was in-house working for a company, that's when I realized that, there was a lot more, I had a lot more to give than just being a lawyer. I was good at a lot of other things, and there were other qualities and skills that I learned along the way, as far as sales and marketing and connection, communication, which I think has really transferred well to be able to be successful in our business. And so I would say, to answer your question, one of my greatest accomplishments on the professional side would definitely be having our firm, the success that we've had in such a short period of time, and being able to do it, with my family.
And branding your name too, which is awesome.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, your name. And you've got a strong background from valedictorian to so you can figure it out.
Yeah.
I
hope so.
Yeah, that's excellent. You guys definitely figured it out.
Yeah, so you guys are pretty busy. Like, what do you do in Las Vegas for fun? So
and our
constantly working.
Yeah, so we're always like this past weekend we were running around to basketball games. So I thought that we were going to have a break because this is the first summer that my oldest girls were not playing AAU club ball because they're going, they're going to college next or this fall. And but my younger ones are now playing. So my younger ones are Kaylin, she's 11, Cameron is 9, and Samara is 8. And Kaylin and Cameron had a basketball tournament last weekend. And they were playing on 2 teams. Yeah. So I think they played in 2 days. I think they played like 9 games.
Oh yeah. Beat you up.
Yeah. I'm just like, oh my gosh. So I can only imagine. And I even was giving them an out for like the last game last night actually. I was just like, like 5 games in one day, that's really a lot. It's okay. Like, I think, if, it might be a little much, on your little bodies. And Kaylin, my 11-year-old, was like, no, I'm gonna play.
I'm built for this. I'm built for this. Good.
Okay. Yeah. All right. But yeah, so it's kind of like, one set is leaving and then this next batch of kids.
But what I noticed, they come from a good bloodline. From you, your husband, they really work hard. So that's awesome.
Right?
Yes. So I guess, along the question that you asked about our greatest accomplishments, professionally I answered that, and I would say on a personal level, it's really my kids.
That's good.
Like raising 5 daughters, which I never thought, 20 years ago when we were just, young and dumb and having fun, I never thought that I would be the mom of 5 daughters. And I actually wanted a son. So you've got 2 boys, right?
So we do not need to get on this topic because I know my wife is in the background, but she's going to tell me to ask you that. Were you guys trying for
Yes. So I wanted a boy. Yeah. Like that was my thing. Like I wanted a boy from the beginning. I wanted my first to be a boy, and then they were 2 girls, and I was like, okay, twins, that's cool. That's a blessing. So, and my husband was fine. He was like, okay, well, we've got 2 girls.
I don't know how your husband does it. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how he does it.
Well, he actually is blessed because the girls are, they're daddy's girls. They're very affectionate.
Sure.
As they get older, I'm sure, he's going to be well taken care of. Trust me. He'll be well taken care of.
6
right?
More,
But yeah, so when we found out that we were having the girls, the twins, he was like, okay, great, I'm done. We don't need to have any more. Like, he wanted girls. And I was just like, don't you want a son? Like, what's wrong with you? Don't you want a son? He was like, no, I'm good. But I convinced him, years later, like, let's have one more, it'll be a boy. And like, then, we'll have blah, blah, blah. Of course, it was another girl. Yeah. And then when she was a girl and there was a big age gap. There was 7.5 years between the twins and Kaylin. Yeah. I was just like, babe, let's go one more, just so Kaylin doesn't grow up, as an only child. So, I kind of suckered him into that one, and
I'm not falling for it. Yeah. I'm not falling for it. But she was a daughter, so that's funny. Yeah. That's good stuff.
But Cameron, of course, Cameron was another girl. I thought for sure that she was going to be a boy, but it was another girl. And then, we ended up having a 5th. That was another surprise. Blessing. But now, now that we're past kind of the baby phase and all of that, we just feel blessed. They're great girls. They're all so different. They have their individual personalities, their uniqueness, and even with my baby, like it's kind of funny because a lot of the things that I've implemented as far as parenting skills and techniques with the first 4 like worked perfectly, and with the baby, she's just like, try again. I'm like, okay.
Gotta find a different way to approach it.
Yeah. So I did. I had to learn, each of their personalities and how to communicate and connect with them, and so I would definitely say that that's been, on the personal side, that's been very fulfilling to see my daughters grow up. And even though the young ones are still young, just being able to see how they're growing into young adults. And my oldest one's, going to be 19. I just can't believe that.
I'm not ready for that yet.
Yeah, it happens so fast. So just enjoy.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Chris was talking about what you guys do for fun, and one of the questions we always ask everybody is, what's your favorite restaurant in Las Vegas?
Ooh. Yeah. My favorite restaurant in Las Vegas. So it used to be Cafe Barbariba. And they actually have one in Chicago.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with cafe, but where's
so it's
that
like a tapas. So it's not here anymore. It used to be in the Fashion Show Mall, but now I think it's a Mexican restaurant.
Wait a minute. Yeah, I do know it. On the first floor.
Yeah.
Face and Win.
Yeah,
we went there before.
Yeah.
My bad. Okay.
So the bacon wrapped dates, the salads,
years
the potatoes.
Ago I was there.
Oh my gosh, that was my favorite place.
Yeah, I remember
to
that
eat.
place. Yeah.
But now I would say
it's like an Asian spot now. I think it's like a Japanese.
Is it Asian?
Yeah, I think it's a Japanese restaurant or something now.
Okay, yeah, it used to be a Hispanic place. So that used to be one of my favorites because I used to work in that area too. So we'd be there. We'd be at Capitol Grill, and then so local. I like. Let's see. Oh my gosh, there's so many good ones.
There really is.
I'm trying to think of one that we went to recently. There was an Argentinian restaurant that kind of like we just stumbled upon. I think it's called Buenos Aires on. It's by a Chinese restaurant, Hong Kong Garden, I believe, on Spring Mountain. I want to say Spring Mountain in Jones or something like that.
Okay, I haven't been there yet. Okay, good. You're giving us some good spots. Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, we tried Black Sheep, which is off of Durango and Warm Springs. We tried that restaurant.
What kind of food is Black Sheep?
So I think it's kind of fusion. I forgot the chef's name, but it's really, they've got like a lot of, they've got like a lamb belly dish. They've got octopus. They've got all sorts of different things.
That
duck.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you like to try different things, that's a good one to try. We just tried that last weekend and liked that. One of our go-tos is, I'm forgetting the name of now. It's in the Cosmo. Yeah. It's one of the steak houses
STK?
in the Cosmo. Yes, STK.
STK
So
STK keeps coming up.
Yeah,
that's
I
on
like
our list.
STK.
Yeah, STK's good.
I like STK. Yeah. We actually ate there first when we were in California years ago, and so that's one of the ones. That's one of the places that I like. And Bazaar Meats is one. That's another good one.
That's a crazy place, man.
Yeah. I know.
And stuff it's wild. Yeah. It's good food, real good food.
So I'm a meat eater, if you can't tell.
There you go.
I love that. And I also like Texas Day Brazil.
That's one of my
favorites. Yeah, you can't lose them. You got some good restaurants, man. So you gotta check out the Argentinian one and the other one, Black Sheep.
Black Sheep.
Okay, I've heard of it. Awesome. So what would you say the next 5 years of growth for Young Law Group and maybe yourself personally?
So I think next 5 years, we're wanting to expand the practice, expand as far as personnel, bringing on more attorneys, also expanding our practice areas. So right now we've got our estate planning and business. I've got other attorneys that have different books of business that they want to be able to come and basically grow in different areas. So it's really just a matter of finding good partnerships.
Sure.
And also expanding our personal injury division. So that's actually Young Injury Law. So it's a division of Young Law Group where we're going to want to make sure that that
brand,
area,
brand,
keeping that brand consistent and being able to expand in that area, but really being smart about it, not just growing for the sake of growth, but really being intentional, making sure that we're still able to serve clients, the way that I want to serve clients. And that's one of the things that is definitely at the forefront of my list as we're growing, because I don't want to lose that, what makes us unique is how we serve. And if we're growing and we're not serving clients in the way that is consistent with our brand, then we're not doing what we set out to do. So
that's good,
just making sure that we're growing, but we're growing in a way that's smart.
That's great. Yeah. Where can people find you guys? I know you mentioned your website. Could you just reshout that out and the Instagrams and things?
So our website is younglawnv.com.
Okay.
The events that I mentioned earlier with the Wine and Wills, we have a website. It's ylgwine.com.
Perfect. That's the ones coming up on August 13th and August 14th.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, those two. So you can always go to that website and see what the upcoming Wine and Wills events are. And then we also have another event in August, is August 28th, the Women Decision Makers Breakfast. So we had one in June. It was a success. We had like 50 women come to the office. We had a nice breakfast. I want to be able to empower women, being able to connect women in a way that we're able to support one another, whether we're business owners, professionals, stay-at-home moms, whatever it is that we do, being resources for one another. So we had a really good turnout. We got great feedback. Women were able to connect. So we're excited about this second event. event on the 28th, August 28th at our office. And for those women that want to attend, the website for that is www.wdm.com. Or sorry, ylgwdm.com.
Okay.
Yeah. And then social media. My personal social media is my Facebook is Shane Jasmine, and our Facebook business page is at Young Law NV, so it's Young Law Group. And then Instagram, our business Instagram is at Young Law Group, and my personal is at Shane Jasmine.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you hanging out with us, man. You were very inspiring.
Thank you.
Very inspiring and scary at the same time. Set those appointments up.
Yeah, definitely.
So we appreciate you hanging out with us, and
my pleasure.
We'll have you out at vegascircle.com. So
thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.